Today's video, we'll look into a scenario in which Germany wins World War I, which is a very interesting scenario. Probably not as interesting as if Germany won World War II, but if they won World War I, it would be pretty much change a lot. It would change the goings of World War II, if World War II even was to happen, but I think it would, but it just wouldn't be caused by the same countries. With Austria sending an ultimatum to Serbia about Serbia killing their king, because the terrorists killed their king and they're blaming Serbia. But Serbia doesn't comply, and Austria-Hungary declares war. Russia declares war on Austria-Hungary. Germany declares war on Russia, and so on, until France declares war on Germany. I'll go to the colonies soon. And then Germany goes through Benelux. Not Benelux exactly. Through Luxembourg and Belgium. Britain joins the war, and so on until the colonies and dominions join. Germany is far outnumbered, but they're still pretty strong. Russia, as we know at that time, was pretty much a collapsing empire. Serbia and Montenegro were invaded eventually, but really stayed as a stalemate, as Germany tried to make an offensive into Belgium and Luxembourg in the Schieffelin plan. Let's make a more successful Schieffelin, but it wouldn't be fully successful. Now, there being better grounds to defend. And them almost to Paris. Literally at Paris. In the Paris streets. But a French counteroffensive still will happen. This is where the new front line is. With a German offensive, with a Russian offensive attacking Germany. This offensive is less successful in Austria-Hungary than it was in our timeline, and slightly successful in northern Germany. With the Central Powers offering Italy more land from Austria and Germany basically threatening Austria to do it. Basically, they threaten Austria to give Italy lands, but not yet, because it's not really. They start asking Italy to join, offering them lands. Italy still hasn't accepted. With Germany and Austria moving into Polish territory. With Germany moving forces into Austria and out into Lithuania. Let's see how about Africa. Well, Germany manages to keep a hold on Cameroon. And they also keep a hold on Tanzania. But they don't hold on to Namibia, because Namibia basically is surrounded by British territory, so it quickly fell. And I guess you can guess why Togoland doesn't exist under Germany anymore. So basically, it was cut off like that. Forces were moving in the north and south. Eventually, it collapsed. With Cameroon still having trouble, with German Cameroon still losing land in the north. And over here, with France is trying to make a better supply line. Even though they have all of Belgium. With a bit of loss in southern Tanzania. What was this? German East Africa? Southeast Africa, I think it was. But them having success holding on to two of their colonies on like an hour timeline. And Austria still hasn't started its campaign. With Austria inviting Bulgaria to join to take out the Balkans. With the Ottoman Empire about to join. With Bulgaria and Austria splitting the territory in half, but I'm not going to show that because it's not very important yet. With I accidentally might have gave them all of a big chunk of Ottoman territory. Which I think is here. About there. And I forgot I had some of Britain's colonies to overweigh Britain's power. And there's a few Arab states in there. With the Ottoman Empire joining. As in their first campaign, they managed to do pretty well. They managed to take all of this out. And then they fully invade Kuwait from Britain to make it harder for Britain to launch an invasion of the South than in our timeline. And there, that's a good spot, so they move over a bit. This is like mountain area, so yeah, they can have more mountain area to defend. But part of the reason but one of the problems they encounter is Russian invasion of the north. This is an alternate history, though, so some of these things aren't even accurate, just to say. I think they were still in charge of Cyprus, but I feel like Britain was. But I feel like Britain got it after the war. Yeah, that makes sense. And the Aegean Islands, I'm not sure which ones were part of Ottoman territory. With an Ottoman invasion starting into Russia, with the Germans and Ottomans having to take a break because it's winter. December 25th happens. Peace happens across that line, but now back to fighting in the east. Nothing much will happen in the east as it's winter. With lands, huge lands being offered to Italy if they join their side from Austria. Against Austria, it doesn't want to do this, but the Central Powers decide to. And it being these lands. But Austria says it's a bit excessive. And they offer this, basically. With ending up after negotiations, let's go see what the border was. And these lands are gave because Germany threatens to leave the war if Austria doesn't listen in this timeline. In a big chunk of Austria. Although they'll probably end up getting more from Austria, because as we know, even if Austria won, it would probably collapse. I don't think there's really a way Austria could have got away from it, because of the situation of so many ethnic diversity, and then at the end of the war, there's so much, like, freedom everyone wanted. And then Italian invasion of British territory starting. With Britain surprised that Italy managed to join, because they thought what they were offering was suffice, but then when they saw what they ended up getting out of Austria, they realized, well, maybe we were too lenient and never gave enough land. So in this timeline, the lands was actually gave to Italy, not like in our timeline where it wasn't believed by Italy. With Germany having cut off a big chunk of British Africa from the Indian Ocean, along with Italy. With a continued push into Nigeria and into French Africa. And basically the front is pretty much stalemating down there. But with Italy in entrance, Italy moves into France. But France quickly, with Italy, they end up setting up a defensive line there. With Romania at this point joining. Because they think they'll do a good job helping. Which is pretty hopeful. Wishful thinking, I guess. As they move into these lands. But at the point, they end up being pushed back. By Austro and German forces. And by Bulgaria and Austria, they meet up and encircle part of their land. Romania is basically in a bad spot. Russia's starting to fall into civil war. And a lot of stuff will happen. With Russia's civil war beginning to get bad, as the Bolsheviks end up taking lots of land in this area. I believe they took, like, all of this land. And it's quickly getting worse. The Bolshevik offensive is worse than our timeline. With the Germans taking advantage to push further. Romania is also pushing in, although they did end up leaving the war at this time. With the Bolsheviks coming in late 1916, a bit early in this timeline. With the Americans still not entered into the war. With the Bolsheviks agreeing to a peace treaty, the Treaty of Brest. Although that treaty will be different in this timeline, just because I don't want to make the exact borders, because I don't know them. So let's see what ends up happening. Italy on their side, and a lot of other factors, they're having a better time than in our timeline. Which is why they're leading to a renewed Paris offensive, as the spring offensive is happening a year early. With a quick march, but they don't exactly reach Paris. With them moving a new front line down here to encircle this region of French defense, which allows it to fall. With that, they then move into the city of Paris and they capture it. With the fall of France at this point inevitable. With France at this point, their government being captured in Bordeaux, where they fled to, the fall of France in Europe. Which eventually leads to the fall of France in different areas of the world. With Italy using this newly found opportunity to make big offensives into French Africa. With a lot of these offensives in the different areas being carried out, with a Belgium offensive, Belgium-Congo. And the pushback against all the French forces that invaded them, and even British, in 2 colonies. Even if they win, I don't think they can keep all their colonies. Yeah, they can. Who am I kidding? With the French Africa campaign going pretty well. Until France and all the colonies decide to surrender, but we'll keep them blue for this point. With Japan still taking the islands of Germany, and them probably leaving at this point because they have nothing better to do and they see how the war is going. They leave the war, definitely. Most definitely, I would say they leave the war before the end. With Germany managing to keep Portugal out, probably going to continue, considering Portugal would have not much use if they joined at this point. With the fall of Belgium, Congo, and the French Africa is no longer fighting, the British are close to surrender. The British have really no point in fighting. The Russians are in a civil war. Romanians already left the war. The only hope they have is Greece. So they persuade Greece. So Greece and Albania gets forced to fight by the British. But what the British don't realize is Italy wants this land. So Italy launches an offensive. With the British being offered to surrender, but they refuse. With some of their dominions at this point having nothing better to do, they're probably going to leave soon. With the Italians having huge success along with the Ottomans. And then this is seen, they really realize they need to leave. As a few of their dominions don't want to lose, so they leave. Such as Canada, Newfoundland, Australia. And, yeah. Let's see what the peace treaty is like for their win. Of course, it wasn't a total victory, because I don't see total victory in this scenario as possible. Like, a total victory is very, total. So I don't see it possible in World War I. But France did fall. Americans are probably not going to join, because I'd say the war is over now. So a peace treaty is signed with everybody coming to an agreement in the Treaty of Berlin. Now, the Treaty of Berlin being a major treaty, which basically makes the post-war borders official. It involves France. The Treaty of Berlin will impact everywhere, with Europe and the Middle East. Everywhere gets affected by this treaty, which is a deal breaker for how the new post-war world will go. So let's see how Europe signed with a loss of a lot of French territory. Puppeting Greece, puppeting there. Romania's free with a bit of land, but they did lose a bit of land in Bulgaria, some of their coast. Line to Bulgaria because Bulgaria wanted it. And let's go to the African part in Middle East. And as you can see, that's just annexed right into Australia. Let's go on to this treaty. But look how much they get. They get more. And they also get Morocco. Italy gets a lot of land. The northern Egypt is gave to the Ottomans. All of Arabia ends up falling under their control. The question is, can this world stay like this, or will it fall? Well, I would say revolutions happen in Britain and France due to being upset about this, many other places. That's all for today's video. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Wild Mapper out, but not until you subscribe. Bye, guys!